Welcome, everyone, to Mythstorie, a podcast about myths and history. I am one of your hosts, Bryant. Joining me is my permanent guest, as always, Cami. Hey, Cami.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Still staying well.
Yes. Yes, still remote. Still doing it this way, unfortunately. But still having fun, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Definitely having fun.
So
We talked for what is it, about an hour an episode?
I know, yeah. Recorded
We
like
only record 20
24
minutes in.
minutes. But talk, yeah, it's nice to see it. Yeah, so this is Mythstorie. If you're just joining us, this is a podcast about myths and history of all types. So we will every week try and grab a legend, a story, a tale, whatever we can think of or find, and try and relay it to you in a fun fashion, kind of in a story if we can, and then we'll jump into some of the history behind it, or just kind of talk about it. Last week we had fun with Japanese raccoons that have giant testicles called tanuki. Today we have a unique take. It's not raccoons and their scrotums.
Right. It's more of like an
So
urban legend territory where.
right, yeah. So I'm just gonna let Cami jump right in.
Sure. In the summer of 1987, sleepovers were the hottest thing for middle school girls in Renton, Washington. There would be all manner of late night snacks. Sometimes there would be a pool, and of course, there was always talk of boys. There was one other little caveat to these parties. More often than not, at least one girl would go missing. The police said the girls were runaways. The girls themselves thought there was a killer on the loose. Obviously, the parents were on high alert whenever the sleepovers happened. Often the mother or older sister would watch the girls until they were all asleep. It was mid August, a week before school was about to start again, and this would be the last sleepover until the next summer. While June had the most disappearances, with a total of 7 girls going missing, July had only seen 4 cases, and no one had disappeared in August. The parents were more at ease letting their children attend these parties. It was Tiffany Macon's turn to host, and she had a pool. 15 girls showed up, all giggles, on this unusually mild August day. They splashed around for hours, playing Marco Polo, and only leaving the watery playground when it was time for pizza. After dinner, the girls got ready for bed. Tiffany's mom made dozens of cookies with little icing shapes on them. The girls turned on the dimmer on the lights in the spacious family room. Then they started telling ghost stories. Each girl would take her turn holding the flashlight under her chin and telling the scariest story that came to mind. It wasn't long before Megan Simpson, Tiffany's best friend, brought up the missing girls. She had hosted one of the sleepovers and heard some scratching at the window, as if someone was struggling to keep their footing while peering in. She said the girls all ran to the window, but all they saw was a man running away. They had been playing Truth or Dare at the time, and someone dared Megan to go outside and investigate. She, full of fear, walked to the door and opened it. She very quietly walked to the window and looked around at the ground outside. She saw a turned over bucket and footprints that appeared to be a man's shoe. The girls watched from the window as she came back inside to tell the others what she saw. They decided to get the parents involved. They called the police, but by the time someone responded, it had started raining. No footprints could be found, and since the parents used that bucket to catch rainwater, the police decided it was nothing. No girls went missing that night. Megan attributed it to the fact that they had caught the perp in the act. All of the girls were terrified at this point. There is nothing better when you're scared than doubling down on fear. So the next girl to speak said, "Let's play something else. Everyone is bored. Let's do Bloody Mary." While this particular game is frightening, it's not the very real danger of a kidnapper coming in the middle of the night to take the most vulnerable child. So everyone agreed. The girls went into the bathroom one by one and chanted Bloody Mary 3 times. While one girl, Elizabeth Siegel, sweared she saw red eyes in the mirror. By the time the early girls opened the door, the eyes were gone. Everyone had a good laugh at this, and shortly after, the girls decided it was time for sleep. Around 2 a.m., Megan was woken up by scratching at the window. She woke up Elizabeth and Tiffany. The three girls mustered up all of the bravery they had between them and peered through the blinds. A tree limb was rubbing against the window. Relieved, the girls decided to go to the bathroom before heading back to bed. Megan went first because she had to pee the worst. Then Elizabeth went in. When she closed the door, the shower curtain rustled. She flung it open, but saw nothing strange. When she was washing her hands, she swore she saw the red eyes again, but when she looked down and back up, they were gone. Tiffany went last. She told the other girls to just go back to bed. She knew her way back. It was her house after all. If a stranger was going to kidnap her, it's not like he could come through a windowless bathroom. When she finished, she looked into the mirror as she washed her hands. She saw her eyes becoming red. She hurried to finish, then turned off the light right before she opened the door. But the door wasn't there, just blackness. She frantically turned about, feeling for anything, until she faced the mirror again. Her eyes now adjusting to the darkness. She saw a womanly shape dripping with blood come through the glass and drag Tiffany back in with her. Spooky.
Yeah, that was excellent. So everyone, that's what we're talking about today. The story, the urban legend of Bloody Mary. So get your blankets and your flashlights and get ready. No, and so Cammy provided an original TM. I don't know, mystery TM myth. I don't know. Which you had done for our last spoopy episode, which was clowns, when we talked about the crazy clown epidemic that was going on.
Yeah, the urban legends are really hard to find a story for,
sure,
like a written down account of anything. So, and I even tried asking friends, like, "Hey, did you have a scary story with Bloody Mary?" And they're all like, "No, we did it." And
one time I got drunk, and then I woke up, and then I had a Bloody Mary. Yeah, so as a accomplished scholar, I started my research on the drink, and it appears to have been invented in the 1920s or 1930s. And that's really it. It's funny because I was just like, why not? Apparently, there's controversy over the origin of the name. So it basically is enough for the drink, yeah. And
okay, because did you know that one without alcohol is called a Virgin Mary?
Yes, I did know that. Well, and it's funny because the drink it's got a couple little options. I thought the coolest little thing I saw was that there's a theory that the name may have arisen. This is for a quote from Wikipedia. The name may have arisen from a failure to pronounce the Slav symbols of a drink called Vladimir in English, and this gains credibility because Ferdinand Petio prepared the drink in 1920/21 for Vladimir Smirnov of the Smirnov vodka family.
Oh, wow,
so
okay.
like maybe I don't know. I'd have to look at the Slavic symbols for Vladimir, but maybe it looks
also
like
Vlad the Impaler, blood.
Yeah, sure. Well, and there's like there's the other thing is that there was a place like a bar or a cabaret called the Bucket of Blood, and a girl named Mary worked there, and they just agreed to call it the Bloody Mary. I don't know. It's just funny. I just thought I'd have to look into it to see if there was like a direct connection there. So, yeah, there's the sources out of all the sources I found. There was one just fantastic one that really kind of covered it by David Mickelson. He published this piece in the 28th of April back in 2001. Better times. Not really.
Before the plague.
Right. So he wrote an article, "Is the Bloody Mary story true?" The obvious connection is to Queen Mary, the First of England, or the Queen of Scots, as she's called, who did earn the nickname Bloody Mary because of her. This was the queen who wanted to kind of get England back in ties to the Catholic Church. So this is the early 16th century to mid 16th century, and she persecuted the kind of the Protestant, and there was rumors of her like specifically targeting young girls, and so she killed some 300 people, Protestants, just for their religion, and earned that name that way. So there's that, but in this article, that sort of is debunked. I mean, it doesn't really have a tie beyond that. So Mickelson, he basically sort of gives us a history lesson that I got from like Wikipedia and stuff too, because that's the natural connection. But other than that, there's no tie. What's funny is, so when I started my research, I focused on the name and the historical figures that earned that title and things like that. And the thing I didn't really realize was the mirror. That's kind of the whole point of this. Captoptromancy is the really difficult to say word, otherwise known as captromancy or enoptromancy, is divination using a mirror. And it's in ancient Rome. It was called. They were called the people who did captromancy were called speculari, and I just was like, oh, it's like specular. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
well, that's the Latin word for mirror.
Right.
Is,
so
speculum.
Right. Right. Speculums. Yeah. And that was like, that's really where the history behind this myth lies. And
how old are mirrors?
Exactly. So I'm just going to be upfront. Like, this was like like kind of a last minute revelation that I had because I found this article late. But I'll give you a little chunk. But I mean, we could absolutely, I mean, like, mirrors, like divination of and captromancy. That's the next episode basically, because this is a rabbit hole in a lot of cool ways, and I'd like to see what other myths go that route. But it's, I mean, there are so the Wikipedia article that talks that gives us the definition of ketoptromancy quotes the Greek traveler Pausanias from the year 110 AD talking about it. So, I mean, obviously mirrors, reflections have been around for a long time, but the act of using them for whatever you can think of goes back some time. And that's really what the core of this myth is. It really is what it kind of goes up to. Mirrors are often seen as like portals, and the idea of connecting it to this makes sense. There's a really funny sort of way to think about it too. It's and we were talking about this too, like why, especially like young girls are so connected to this. And there's this psychological age called the Robinson age. This period between 9 and 12. And it's described as a period where children need to satisfy their craving for excitement by participating in ritual games and playing in the dark. They are constantly looking for a safe way to extract pleasure and release anxiety and fears. So, I mean, that kind of, I know that, but it's just kind of interesting to hear it and hear that it has this name, the Robinson age. It's this time period of just kind of screwing around and doing stupid stuff like this. But Mickelson, so the research into Bloody Mary kind of started in 78. A folklorist, Janet Langlois, or Langlois, maybe she's French, published an essay on the legend. She believed the summoning the mirror witch was was widespread. That's what this is. It's this phenomenon of summoning a like what we could say like a mirror witch essentially. And it just kind of, I don't know, there isn't an exact time where it sort of evolved, but they were talking about it in 1978 and in the early 70s, and so I guess it was just this thing. And I guess
think, Baba Yaga, if I'm not mistaken, is a mirror witch.
Maybe
I could be wrong about that.
I think that it might have evolved into that, but I think that goes a little older. And I don't think Russia was introduced to mirrors until the late. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You did do research on mirrors, and you just didn't tell me.
I know, yeah. Look, it's a very American kind of gripped myth, and Janet Langlois published her essay focused on the phenomenon that was apparently really growing in the 70s. So maybe it was an information age thing, but yeah, it just sort of had this funny evolution. So
were Ouija boards like really popular in the 70s too? Like Dungeons and Dragons and Ouija boards and like all of that kind of
I don't
checking.
I'm gonna try Ouija board. When did Ouija boards?
I mean, I know they were like in the, I want to say like the 1800s or maybe the
Oh,
1920s.
1890.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's commercial
But no,
introduction.
I think that they like gained popularity again in the
Yeah,
1970s.
absolutely. I could absolutely see that.
Because
Yeah.
my mom had one when she was a little girl.
Oh, that's fun. So yeah, and that's once I started seeing that it was a connection to the 70s. I don't know, something just kind of clicked. You know,
Uh-huh.
like you think of like the horror films that are set there with the Farrah Fawcett hair.
Oh, they're like the scariest ones.
Exactly. Yes, precisely.
I guess it was like a dark time. I don't know. I wasn't alive. But...
Sure, but it's interesting because Mickelson's article then kind of goes on. This specific ritual isn't really seen until the 90s in like media. So like there's the Candyman film, a movie called Urban Legend. There's even an X-Files episode in '96 that makes specific references to this myth, but also the chanting, the mirrors, and things like that.
Wait, does Candyman have something to do with mirrors?
Yes, yeah, it's the same setup. You just replace you just say Candyman. Yeah, that's when I
I
was a
thought he was
kid.
like bees or something.
Bees?
Yeah, didn't he turn into bees?
Spoilers. I don't know. I didn't see the
Oh,
film. But
okay.
so that film came out in '98, and I was, I was a kid, a little
Right.
kid then.
You wouldn't have watched it, yeah.
No, but by the time I was in middle school, it was like known. So like I remember people that was like my introduction to the mirror chanting phenomenon, or maybe an episode of South Park. I don't know. Probably, I'm sure they did. So and it looks this specific myth though, it goes by a lot of different names, so it's not just Mary, but Hell Mary is another one that's really popular, or that's cited. A lot of different variations of Mary, but also Agnes, because Agnes, that's just a name to say in a
Wait,
mirror.
Hail Mary, like they're praying into the mirror?
Hell,
Oh,
H
hell. Oh, they're
H E double
changing
L.
it. Okay, they're making it evil.
Right. Yeah.
They're taking something innocent and making it evil, just
Right.
like
Yeah.
kindness. Okay, I get it.
And then they PG'd it to bloody. Just to make it more accessible to the youth.
Except for in England, you can't watch that movie if you're
Right, correct. um, but yeah, so sometimes you have to chant it 13 times. Sometimes you have to say just her name. Sometimes you have to say, I believe in so and so, or declare that you killed, I say, Bloody Mary, I killed your baby. Lots of different things. And it's sort of like if the witch appears, it means you might be getting, or if she doesn't appear, it has lots of different meanings, like whether you're going to get married, you're not, whether you're going to die, whether you're not. It's all divination
so
in
yeah, it's a
stupid
divination tool
senses.
at that point,
Hmm.
huh? Because I always, like, as a kid, just imagined that she would come and attack you in some way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like, but there's no some like there's absolutely no connection to the British Queen. That's just it's not where it comes from. That's sort of where the historical idea of it is. But there's really there's a couple other figures, but it just sort of loosely is connected to the evolution of mirror divination or mirror witches, as I could say, and that's about it. I mean, it was interesting. Like I had this mind blowing. I was focusing on the name. That was what I was focusing on. I was like, who's the person? What's that's obviously there's going to be a person in 1952 who tripped and I don't know, scabbed her knees up and was Mary. I don't know, but it's the mirrors. That's what it is. That's what it's all. That's the secret. You can't just do this in your shed. That's not gonna. It's not scary if you go in your shed and yell it. Like it doesn't work.
You have to
So
have the, what would you call that? I don't
the
even know what I'm trying to say.
the portal.
Like,
You have to have the
yeah, the
portal, the
portal. Yeah,
mirror.
the portal.
Yeah. I wonder
Like in
if.
Little Monsters, you had to have like a bed, or you
Yeah.
couldn't go under it.
Right. I wonder if your phone, if you put the selfie camera on, does that count? I wonder
Well,
if there's
the
any.
selfie camera is the same as a mirror. Like it projects the same image you would see in a mirror. It doesn't project the real image of you.
Yeah.
So maybe. But I
What
wonder
if?
if, huh?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I wonder if there's mirrors that do project your real image. The ones that are
Yeah.
like really weird, like when you look in it, you're like, what?
Oh
I
yeah,
wonder.
the uncanny valley or whatever effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. if it works in those mirrors.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was thinking like if you like, let's say like there's right now some like 12-year-old girls or whatever, they've got their iPhone and they don't have a mirror handy, so they do that with their iPhone, but they do it and they've got like the puppy dog Snapchat filter on.
Oh my gosh! And then all of a sudden, Mary shows up with the puppy
Right,
dog.
with the puppy dog, yeah, and like she's like screaming, but then the dog tongue rolls out because that's what.
And the girls just start laughing, and
Yeah,
laughter scares her away. Yeah.
yeah. She's like, God damn it.
Well, that reminds me. All this mirror talk. That reminds me of. I think it was in that movie Constantine, but I think it's like a real, or not. It's not a real thing, but I think people believe it's a real thing because I've seen other
Oh
movies too,
yeah.
where you trap the demon in the mirror.
Yes, yeah. That is a. Their Nicholson's article does mention trapping, like that's what, like using the mirror to trap, like if you were having a problem with a spirit, you would do this ritual to trap her, basically,
Okay.
to trap the mirror witch. So it was a tool. But yes, yeah, he does do that. I remember that during the exorcism. That was like, Keanu Reeves, you're great. If you're listening to this, I appreciate it.
Yes, he gave us a
Um,
review on Apple Podcasts.
yeah, Cammy Bryant, great work. That's what he'd say.
And here's a free copy of Cyberpunk.
No, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I just care about Keanu. John Wick 4. That's all. I'm down for that. And hey, it's all full circle. John Wick, Baba Yaga, Keanu Reeves, Mirror Witches. There we go. Boom. Done. Myth storied. We gotta start saying that now. Myth busted, myth storied. Yeah. That's how we should end it.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Myth storied, and then snap at the microphone. Wow. Well, all right, Cammy, I think that covers it. You did an excellent job writing that story.
Thank you.
You gotta get it copyrighted immediately.
Well, it's written down, so it's copyrighted.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But that was really great. I really appreciate that. Everyone, if you enjoyed the episode, please let us know. Join us on our Facebook group, Mythstorie, Mythstorie with an IE at the end, not anywhere else. We appreciate you. Join our community. We're going to be doing more and more. The growth of the podcast has been really exhilarating. It's been going up, and we're really proud of what's been going on, and pleased that we can do this, especially during this time. So if you can join our Facebook group, but you can always email us mythstorie@gmail.com as well. Let us know if you have any myth ideas or stories or whatever. Especially like we really want to branch out. We've done Maori culture and stuff like that, and I think we're looking at some Filipino myths. But we'd love it if you have some myths that are not well known that other people just don't know about, because we'd love to talk about it. That's sometimes the really fun part. Although it's hard to research it and not feel like you're gonna screw up, but it's cool. Well, anyway, thanks, Cammy.
And I just wanted to shout out again, Mythstorie After Dark that Peter does on the Facebook Live. So check that out.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Cammy.
Yeah, I think that about covers it.